Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for another knitting podcast episode. Hi, I hope you're having a great week, day, whatever you're having. I hope it's great. I'm filming another kind of semi-monthly podcast. It ends up being like every fifth week I film a podcast. I don't know, maybe I'd do them more often. Let me know if you think it should be more often, but regardless, I'm here today to go through things I've finished in the past 5-ish weeks, what I'm currently working on, any acquisitions, and then I'll provide an update on how I'm doing on my 2024 knitting intentions. So let's get into it. I don't know if it's going to be a long episode or not. I guess we'll just see as we get into it. But I do have a fair bit to cover, so let's start off. So I'm going to start off with finished objects, and the first thing I finished since I last talked to you all was the Nurture Bralette. This is a pattern by Celine Phaeton, and it was actually a gift, so I don't have it anymore. I will have a nice image of me wearing it, but it was a really wonderful pattern I made for a good friend for her birthday, and she really loved it. And I used the yarn Heart of the Forest was the colorway by Apothecary Fibers on her fingering base. Since then, Apothecary Fibers shop has closed, unfortunately, but it is a beautiful yarn, and I actually have enough left to make a pair of socks for myself, which I'm so excited about. But yeah, this pattern was great. I actually took a break from working on this project to work on that bralette, and it took me 4 days, like weekdays too. I didn't work on it at all during the weekend. It was just 4 weeknights after work, and I was able to get it done. And of course, like, a speedy project doesn't always mean like the best project, or I'm fine with something taking a long time, but it was kind of nice that like this beautiful pattern was so engaging, so well written, and so quick that it didn't take me very long at all, and I really didn't feel like I had to put in a lot of work. So it was a really enjoyable whip, and it's a beautiful finished object. It's really cool too because it's a very customizable pattern for fitting your breast. It has different cut measurements and then also different kind of length measurements. So it was a really well-written pattern with a lot of different sizes. So if you are looking for kind of a stash busting project that you don't want to make another pair of socks, highly recommend looking into this one. It's very cute. You can lengthen it if you want. But yeah, the lace detail is beautiful. Super fun. This project was also the first time I had a needle break on me. So you have to change needles between the top and the bottom, and I was using my US ones for the lace section on the bottom, and one of it, like a pair of circular needles, and it just snapped right off of the needle, and I had to luckily I had another pair of US ones that are actually my like 9-inch circular socks, but I have some extenders, so I was able to attach enough to kind of finish it. But that's the first time that I've ever had a needle break on me, or a pair of circulars. I've had DPN snap. But yeah, that was not fun, but the pattern itself and the project itself was really fun and enjoyable, and it was just great to make something for a friend. So first finished object, don't have it, but it was so fun, so beautiful. And yeah, that was great. My next finished object was a pair of socks. So these are my March socks. I do have both of them. I always feel the need to show that I've made both, but then I'm just going to hold up one to talk about. These are the Fairy Dance socks by This Handmade Life. It's a really well-written pattern. Of course, I mean, I love This Handmade Life. And yeah, it's got this kind of beautiful faux cabling over the foot and on the leg, and then it's a normal heel flap and gusset. And yeah, these were great to work on. I made them. I'm trying to make a pair of socks every single month. So these were my socks for March, and they were really enjoyable. I cast them on at a butterfly pavilion actually, and kind of worked on them with some butterflies. I have some cute photos. And then just worked on them. I actually made these a 56 stitch sock. So the pattern doesn't go to that size, but I was able to modify it really easily to just go down to 56 instead of 64 stitches. It is also, I didn't quite realize how much like the whole sock is twisted rib, so it's very tight, but I like that. I do actually prefer my socks to fit pretty snugly on my feet, so this was a really nice pair. You can kind of see like I've been wearing them a week and I haven't reblocked them or anything, and it's definitely stretched out the faux cabling or whatever kind of pattern you want to call this. Maybe it's lace, I don't know. But it has kind of stretched out. There's some areas where like there's little holes from just pulling because they are tight on my feet, but I'd rather them be tight on my feet and, you know, the pattern still looks good. So I'm very, very content with these. And I've already worn them a lot. I finished them on Easter and was able to wear them that day, which just felt perfect. I think that they're a really cute little Easter sock. So, or maybe I finished them like the day before Easter, I think, but they were dry and ready to be worn on Easter Day. So that was lovely. And yeah, they're very pretty. And oh, this yarn, this is the Salty Blonde Fine Fibers yarn in the colorway Tea in the Garden or English Garden. I think there's kind of two different names for the same colorway. I think the one I have, the ball I currently have, is English Garden. I have bought this sock yarn twice now. I didn't mean to. I was at a trunk show. Well, I bought it once at a local yarn store. They had a skein of it and I thought it was beautiful, so I bought it then. Knit up 2 beautiful pairs of socks with it, and then a year later I was at a trunk show that had 4 Salty Blonde and this yarn was there, and I was like, that yarn's so pretty, I need it, and I bought it, and then later realized I had already knit with it before, but I still love it, and I'm happy to have another pair of Tea in the Garden or English Garden socks. So yeah, these are beautiful, very fun. My next finished object after was a little skein of yarn. So I have been getting more and more into spinning. And in March, I was able to go to a workshop or like it was a 2-hour class at a yarn store. It's not one of my local yarn stores, but it was like a 30-minute drive from me. I was able to go take a class with some amazing people. I have, they were amazing, and I have their business cards. The business that did the class was Warp and Woolens, and it was hosted at the Longmont Yarn Shop. But they were so wonderful. It was Mark and Darla, and they led a 2-hour class there were 3 of us there on just how to use a drop spindle and spin, and showed us how to ply and how to take care of our yarn. And they were both just so calming and sweet and helpful. And it was a great experience. And while there, they gave us a little bit of this blue fiber to work up. It was a BFL. I think it was 100% BFL. And so I spent 2 weeks then after that class working on my little spinning. And after 2 weeks of spinning it up, I plied it. I did an Andean bracelet and then plied it back onto my drop spindle and washed it and hung it to dry and then skeined it all up. And I made, over 2 weeks, 4 grams of yarn. It's about 6 yards, 4 grams. So it was not a very fast process at all, but it was very enjoyable and pretty good yarn. I mean, like, there's definitely some spots where it didn't fully ply well. There was also a spot where while I was spinning it, I made it too thin, and so when I went to ply it, it snapped in that spot, and so there's just kind of like a loose spot there, but that's okay. Like, I'm probably never going to knit with this. I'm probably just going to look at it and hopefully in a few years look upon it and be like, wow, I've grown so much, but here's like a little strand of it. I'm proud. This is yarn. I made this. So that was really enjoyable. I'm sorry if you're not here for the spinning information, but hopefully my joy about doing it is fun to watch, even if you do not care at all about ever spinning. But I do highly recommend trying it. It was very frustrating at first, not knowing how to do it. But now that I've kind of got the basics of spinning down a little bit, it's actually really, really relaxing. So I would highly recommend, and it's really affordable. I mean, my drop spindle, I got one on Etsy, and I think I ordered one on Amazon. Support local where you can. I know a bunch of my local yarn stores also have drop spindles, so if you can, check those out. But didn't know if I'd like this and was kind of looking around and able to find those. And I think they were like $10-15 each. And then fiber is usually, between 10 and 20 depending on the blend and if you want like it to be hand dyed. So it's a low investment to get into spinning, and it's fun, it's relaxing, and it's really cool to say like I made yarn. Like one day I'm going to be able to say I made this whole project, like from making the yarn to knitting the yarn and making something with it. That's going to be really cool. So yeah, very content with this. I did feel really stupid. I was taking a bunch of photos the day I finished it. I like kept posing with it like a guy with a fish. Like if there's the whole I don't know if it's a meme or just like people will post pictures of like all the guys on dating apps and online who use as their profile picture like them holding a fish. And so I was kind of holding this like a fish. I think Rachel, her original username was Anthornits, but I know she just changed it. I'll have it up. She keeps posting photos of her with her finished objects as if she's holding a fish. And so I was having a lot of fun, like holding this up like it was a fish I just caught, and posing. Like I'm very proud of my tiny little skein that, spent a lot of time on. So yeah, very, very enjoyable. And I'm so excited to continue to develop my knitting skills, my spinning skills. All right. And then my final finished object is what I'm wearing. This is the November jacket by Petite Knit. I knit it out of the Happy Chain yarn, originally actually in this kind of pinky color. And then there are a lot of things that happened with this project. So I was knitting it with the pink color. I don't know what I was doing, but I did not have enough yarn at all. I was like 600 meters short of what the pattern recommended. So did not have enough yarn. Was very off. But I'd already kind of gotten through both sleeves when I realized that. So I had like the body to about here, and then had both sleeves done when I realized I do not have yarn to finish this. And then I looked it up, and the Happy Chain yarn has been discontinued. So I was stressing, but I did have 3 balls, and I think I talked about this a little bit in my last podcast, but I did have 3 balls of yarn, of this same yarn in different colors, because I'd originally bought all of this Happy Chain yarn as a kit to kind of make this. It's called the Sprinkle Sweater, and it was going to be mostly the pink color, and then with little speckles of blue, white, and gray throughout. And so I had a skein of the blue, a skein of the gray, and a skein of the white, and then I think I had 12 skeins of the pink. And so I decided I will just keep knitting with all of them, and then I will dye it at the end. So I did that. I did still have to shorten it quite a bit, and I didn't include pockets, which the pattern originally calls for. But I did that, and then I dyed it all this brown color, and here's my swatch, where I dyed a swatch brown, and I knit up a swatch in white and pink to dye brown. And they came out as the same color, I think because I did not set a timer for that one. I was not good. I just put dye in a yogurt container, did not measure anything, put in some soap and some vinegar, just splashes of each, random measurements, put this in for probably an hour, and then walked away. So that's not at all how you're supposed to dye things. You're supposed to measure it a lot better. You're supposed to stir while it's waiting. You're supposed to time it so you know how long it's sitting for, and you do it between 30 minutes and an hour. So yeah, I ended up with this very, very dark color when I did that. And then I finished the knitting of this, and I decided in the middle of my work day on a Friday, oh, I'll just dye it now. Let's just go put it in. And then I was letting it sit in the tub and realized oh, I have a meeting in an hour and a half. This needs to be fully done. And the process of the dyeing for this one, I just used Rit dye. But the process was it needs to soak in the dye while you're stirring it between 30 minutes and an hour. And then you need to rinse it out with cold water until the water runs clear. And then you need to wash it with a mild detergent. So that last step I figured would be kind of like blocking it, and I would just leave it to soak in my wool wash. So I then decided, like, I don't have enough time for this to sit for an hour. So I'm just gonna put it in for the 30 minutes. And I liked the color of it when it was wet and still covered with dye. It looked like all the pieces were the same color. So it's like, okay, cool. And then I started rinsing it out, dumped away all the dye. It was the last of the dye. So I was rinsing it out and then realized, like, yeah, so it didn't make these all the same color. So then I was really angry. It was also a full body workout to try to get the dye out of this. I was very stressed that I was going to felt it. I was wet, like, everywhere. My glutes were burning from trying to, like, stand over the bathtub and, like, squish water out. My arms hurt from pressing the water out. It was a whole workout. I was so hot. And so then I finally was like, it's good enough. The water was clear enough. It was not all the way clear, but it was clear enough. Did the wool wash bath and then blocked it and just let it dry. And I was very, very angry on Friday about how it turned out. But today when I put it on, it took like 2 full days to dry. It is an Aran weight. Today when I put it on, I actually really like it. I really think that, the majority of it is all the same color. And this, I'll put in pictures of me wearing it so you can see all of it. But I don't know, maybe it looks intentional. At least it's all kind of tonal instead of being like pink, white, gray, and blue. So that's nice. So I've decided that I am happy with this project. I actually really like the way it looks with my hair color. I'm recently kind of trying to go back to my natural color, which is more brown. And so I like the brown with the brown here. I also like it with a brown or beige or tan, whatever color you want to call this shirt. I like the monochrome look. So I'm really content with it now. But yeah, it was a journey. This was also one of the longest whips I've ever had. I started it in February. I don't know the exact date, but I think it was like February 17th. Yeah, it was February 17th. So it took me almost 2 months to finish this, which that's a really long time for a monogamous knitter. Of course, I did fully set this down a few times. I made a pair of socks, the bralette, and this pair of socks. While working on this, I fully set this down and worked on those. So it wasn't like 2 months of continuous knitting on this, but this was my largest project for a really long time. So I was over it, and I'm just really glad to have it off the needles. And now I actually really like the way it looks, and I am very content with it now that I had a day to just be mad at it. But it's mostly going to be my desk cardigan. I'm going to sit it near my desk and throw it on when I get cold or when I need to, put something on while I'm wearing a tank top for a meeting, things like that. And it's going to serve that role well. So very, very content at the end of the day, but what a journey. So, okay, those are all my finished objects. Let's move on to whips. So unlike me, I have 3 whips right now. So I'll start with the one that's been active the longest, and that is, oh my gosh, everything's stuck together. My spinning project. So here she is, what I have so far. And yeah, I can grab, you don't need to see all the fiber, but here's a bigger chunk of fiber to see kind of what the colors look like. But this is a 100% Polworth fiber that was hand dyed. It's from the brand or the business Jakira Farms on Etsy. I'll link them. And I've so thoroughly enjoyed this. I finished the blue yarn, I think last week on like Wednesday maybe. And then I didn't spin for a little while. And then I started this on maybe Sunday night. And then just kind of went ham on Monday night. I did the majority of this, which there's more on this drop spindle right now than there was for all of this skein. So I'm already past my 6 grams or 2 weeks of work mark in less than a week. So I am getting faster and getting better. And I've really enjoyed this. This week I've been doing kind of it's called a reading deprivation. It's from the Artist's Way, but essentially I haven't been reading anything. I haven't been doing any social media. I haven't been watching anything, and I haven't been listening to anything other than music. I've just read things for work because I need to still do my job. I need to read my email, but otherwise it's kind of just been like a content free or like a content cleanse. And so this spinning project has been really enjoyable while I'm just like listening to music and sitting and working on it. So it definitely got a lot of love this week. And especially as I was at the tail end of this project too, and just like desperately didn't want to work on it, but wanted it done and didn't want to cast on anything else until it was done. So it was like, I'm just going to be spinning. So spent a lot of time spinning this week, and I'm really enjoying this spin. And this is a Turkish drops bundle. I did just get it on Amazon. I'm happy to link it. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable. I'm very proud of myself with the spinning. So that's my first whip. And then the other two. Here is my next whip. It is going to be a cardigan, but it's in very early stages. I cast this on yesterday. It's Sunday the 14th today, and so I cast this on Saturday. And yeah, it's the Eva cardigan, which is kind of a really cool construction. It's almost like a combination between a drop shoulder and a raglan. So I'm really enjoying it so far. And yeah, I'm making the size medium, which is the 4th size. And yeah, that's about the pattern. The yarn I'm using is also from Apothecary Fiber Co., which just closed, but it's the colorway Dust Bunny in the Druid DK base, which is a 100% superwash. And I love the way it's looking. Like, it's such a nice grayish with just this subtle kind of tonality of a hand-dyed base. So I'm really enjoying this. And yeah, I don't have much else to say about it right now. Obviously, like, it's in very early stages, so I can't say too much, but the project has been really fun. It's been really engaging doing the shaping and doing the increases so far. I've enjoyed it. It's been well explained. It's a petite knit pattern. I mean, she does a good job with her patterns. That's why she's petite knit. So it's been enjoyable, and the yarn's so pretty, and I'm excited to just continue working on it. So that's that whip. And then for context, I'm going to be in DC all next week for a work trip, and I just wasn't sure whether I'd want to work on like a raglan increase cardigan on the plane and in the evenings after long kind of conference days. So I decided to also cast on a pair of socks just so I had options, because normally I am a very monogamous knitter, but I wanted to have the option to have a little bit of a smaller whip. So here's the sock that I started. It's a toe-up sock. This is the Intersections Socks by Marceline. I know her first name's Marceline. The full name will be in the description. I'm knitting it from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. It's, I think, the first sock pattern in that book, like the first edition one. And it's been really enjoyable. I also cast this on last night and just have been slowly working on it. So it's a cabled sock, which now my options are, do I want to make tiny little cables or do raglan increases, which are both like, a little bit more complex than maybe I'd want for the kind of knitting attention I'll be having for the next week. But hey, it's at least going to be engaging and take my mind off work. And it's not that bad. Like, the cables are easy. So yeah, it's been really enjoyable. The yarn for this is the Yarn Addict. Oh my gosh, what's the name? I think it's called Sacred Sheep on her fluffy fingering base. Speckled Sheep, fluffy fingering. From the Yarn Addict, who is renamed now to Little Fiber Co. It's such a beautiful yarn. I'm so glad that I'm finally working this up, and I'm so glad I chose this pattern for it because I think just it looks so good with the colors. So I'm really enjoying this one too. Again, cast it on last night, don't have too much to say. This is my second toe-up sock, and it feels kind of weird to like try this on and work on it where it's just this little toe, but I know it's going to work out. I've made a toe-up sock before, and it's going to be great. I am knitting this. The needles called for on this were a 1.5 or a US 1.5, which is I think it's a 2.5 millimeter needle. But I always just go down in needle sizes, and there were only a 64 stitch or a 72 stitch option in this pattern, and I could have done what I did with the fairy dance socks and made my own 56 stitch count pattern. That wouldn't have been that hard, but I just decided to do the 64 stitch, and instead of using a 1.5, go down to a 0 or a 2 millimeter needle. So I'm knitting these on 2 millimeter needles, but otherwise I'm not modifying anything. I'm just gonna knit to pattern, and I'm excited. They're so pretty, and we'll see. I'm really interested to see which whip kind of ends up calling my name more while I'm traveling and at this conference. So we'll see which of these gets the most work in the next week. But I'm also bringing the spinning project, so I'll have 3 whips with me, which is a little ridiculous for like a week-long thing where I'm planning on being in conferences every day, but I wanted to have options for my brain so I don't have to like, I don't know. I'm gonna want to like give myself little treats. So I want to have lots of options for little treats while I'm there. So yeah, those are my whips. And then I have a few acquisitions from last time. It was actually my birthday in March, so a few birthday things and just a few little things I picked up. So let's do the acquisitions really quickly, and then we can move into inspirations and my progress on my knitting intentions. So acquisitions. First of all, for my birthday, my mom got me a new ball winder, which was so nice. This one's from Amazon. I forget the brand, but I will have it linked. But it's a really nice ball winder. I really wanted a more ergonomic ball winder. I had one that attached to the table before, and I just cranked it from the side. And this one, I like that the crank is at the top. It definitely feels better to kind of go this way instead of up and down. It's a lot easier on my wrist. I am hypermobile, or I have just like loose joints. My ligaments are a little too loose. And so it's just nice when things are a little bit more ergonomic because otherwise I might hurt myself a little. So I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, it was a great birthday gift. It had been on my wish list for a while, so I'm really glad that she gifted it to me. Also for my birthday, one of my really good friends got me this book, which I'd never seen before, but it's got some really good patterns in it. So it's a Harry Potter knitting book. So it's got a bunch of different patterns. Here's my favorite pattern in the book. So it's a little mobile for like a baby, and it's the sorting hat. So we've got sorting hat in the middle, the lion, the badger, the snake, and the raven to represent the 4 Hogwarts houses. And I just think this is so darling and cute. And there's a bunch of really great patterns in this book. Here's some of them. We have like the famous Weasley sweater, Professor Umbridge's cat scarf, some really cool gloves, Patronus gloves, a Time Turner sweater as well. So yeah, some really, really cool patterns in here. And I'm just excited to work on some of them. There's just some really cool stuff. And that was a total surprise of my friend to get me a present. I wasn't expecting her to even get me a birthday gift. And so, yeah, she was so sweet. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into that book at some point soon. The next thing, I ordered this a few months ago. I sample knit for Poppy and Spruce Fibers. And so as sample knitting compensation, I got some yarn. So I originally ordered 3 skeins of this yarn. This is on her Birch DK weight base, which is a 100% non-superwash, 20.5 micron organic merino. It's some of the softest yarn I've ever felt. Abby of Poppy and Spruce just added this yarn to her collections that she offers, and it is so soft. The colorway for this one is Hey There Sporgus. It is from her I Liken You a Lot collection, which I sample knit for, and so yeah, very enjoyable. I got 3 skeins, and I meant to order, she also has the non-superwash merino on a fingering base, and I meant to order 3 skeins of fingering, and I somehow messed up and got 3 skeins of DK. So I can't do anything with just 3 skeins. So I then had to go order 3 more skeins of the DK weight, because originally I was going to get a mohair substitute or a suri to pair with this and design a sweater with. But honestly, after feeling this, I kind of wouldn't want to add a suri to it anyways, because it is just so soft. So I kind of want just this on my skin. So it's kind of working out that I just had to order 3 more skeins, and the mohairs or suris that I would probably have gotten would have been the same price as just buying 3 more skeins of this. So I felt a little dumb, but Abby and I talked. It's like, I was so stupid. And so 3 more skeins are coming my way, and then I can start designing, but I'm very content with this yarn. It's so pretty. I don't know if you can fully see, like, if it's being color accurate right now, but it's got some really nice colors in it. I've also shown this a lot on my channel, so we don't need to go too in depth, but very pretty, very excited to work it up soon. So yeah, happy that's there. Oh, also for my birthday, I got this. This was just something on my wish list, and it's a sock ruler. So the point here is that, let me grab my sock whip. Instead of trying to use a kind of standard tape measure to measure the socks where they're rolling and doing a lot, and I just always find it frustrating. Some places sell these sock rulers where I can just put my sock whip on here and see, like, okay, if I then pull it flat on here, right now I have 3 inches of sock. Awesome. So that is a lot easier than just trying to mess with it. And so I just had this on my wish list as something of like, I can get by without it. I don't want to buy it myself, but you know, as a gift for a birthday or something, please consider. And it was pretty cheap. It was like, I think it was $10, and it came with a gauge checker too. So yeah, very content to have this, and it's going to make my sock knitting very easy. Definitely don't need this, but I'm happy to have it, and it was a birthday gift from my mom, so very, very happy with that. Oh, another thing, I got some stitch markers yesterday. I went to a kind of food hall place near me that has a bunch of stores inside, and one of the stores inside is a yarn store. It's called the Tangled Ball. It's a really great yarn store if you're ever in the Denver area. And there they had these stitch markers. Let me flip it this way. These stitch markers. So these are by All Stitch Studio. And they're these really cute flower stitch markers. I can also grab one for you to just look at, not on a whip. That's probably easier. Here's what the stitch markers look like when they're not on a project. They're just circular metal stitch markers that have been coated in a colored nylon, or maybe it's nylon. I think it was a nylon coating, but they've been coated so they're snag free. They're really nice to work with. They glide really easily on needles, and they're just really cute. So I got the blue pack, which had 4 different colors, and they fit up to a US 8 needle. And yeah, the brand was All Stitch Studio, and they're really cute. I just love fun stitch markers. They were slightly pricey. It was like for 32 stitch markers, it was $11, which I don't know. I mean, it is just like tiny little pieces of metal, but they're really cute. And I actually split the pack with my mom, who I was with. So we each got 16 of them. So it worked out for that. That also reminded me, I forgot to mention that I got these stitch markers for my birthday. So these are some cute little cat stitch markers where it's a cat with its little tail, and it's kind of the lobster clasp or earring clasp style of stitch marker. So stitch markers galore. And I don't know where my mom got these. These were also for my birthday, and I don't know where they're from, but they are very cute. This one's a calico, which I love. So yeah, fun stitch markers. Also, the reason I went to the yarn store yesterday while I was in the area, and I decided to go in to look for one of these tools. So this is another tool that you can get by fully fine without, but I wanted one. It is a wraps per inch tool. This one calls it a cats per inch tool because it's cat, but if you ever have yarn that you don't know the weight of it, whether you've thrifted it or lost the label, or you've made yarn and you're figuring out what weight you made, you can use a tool like this. You can also just wrap this around any tape measure or like ruler. But essentially you wrap the yarn around the middle here to get an inch of yarn, and then you count how many wraps you have, and then you know what weight of yarn you have based on the wraps per inch measurement. So it'll tell you, if you have 16 or more wraps, that's a lace weight, 5 to 6 for super bulky, and then all of those in between. There's also little grooves here for you to just put your yarn in and see where it fits best, so you can verify that way. So yeah, just given that I'm getting into spinning a little bit more, I wanted a tool like this because, well, I can just wrap around a ruler or something. The fact that this keeps your yarn within that 1 inch and like has the indent is really, really helpful. So I got this. It's by the brand Katrinkles, which I bought from them before. They're a nice kind of notions brand. They make a lot of cute stuff. And it was $11, which it's a little much, but I'm happy with my purchase. It's fine. That's what I wanted. So here we go. It's cute. And then my final acquisition is the sock project book by Summer Lee. So while I was in the Tangled Ball, got my wraps per inch thing, got the stitch markers, and then saw that they had this book, which has been out of stock like everywhere. So I'm really surprised they had it, and I was very excited. And so I decided to purchase it because it was also only $28. I think online you can maybe get it for like $25, but $28 is a really good price. So I think there's 25 projects in here. Yeah, 25 patterns are in here. And then there's also just a lot of really great guidance about different heel types, different working toe up and cuff down, caring for your socks, getting sizing right. So it's just a really great kind of guide to sock knitting, and then has some beautiful, beautiful patterns. So here's one of my favorite patterns in it. These are the sunny side up socks. They're really pretty. And then the other one that I just loved and really convinced me to get this book, these are the scrimshaw socks, and they kind of look like porcelain or like traditional kind of china wear, with especially the blue and white. But yeah, I just thought they were some really beautiful color work. There's also some great cabled socks and some great lace socks in here, and some really cool textures. You can kind of see, here's all of the socks that are in the book on the front cover. So I'm really excited to knit a pair of socks from that book soon, and just knew I had to get it while I was there, given that it's out of stock almost everywhere, and I've really been wanting it, especially after, this actually flows really well, especially after hearing Ash from Smash and Knits. She talked about this book a lot. She also has a podcast channel. I'll link it below. And last podcast for her, she was just raving about the book and how well organized it is, and how she was so happy to get her hands on it and look through it. And that really kind of convinced me, like, oh, I really want this book, because I really love Ash from Smash and Knits. That's actually my first inspiration, is her. So I'm trying to feature more kind of I'm trying to have less acquisitions. There's always going to be a few, because my friends and family give me gifts of yarny things because I love knitting and yarn. And then I love to make a little purchase sometimes. But as I have less acquisitions and focus more on kind of working on what I already own, I will feature more and more inspiration. So I've done this for a few podcasts now. And this month, I've just really been enjoying Ash's channel. I've followed her for a while, and yeah, she makes really great videos, has really cool whips that she's working on. I so love her accent and her cat. Yeah, she's really cool. I love her color schemes too. She's so much more colorful than I am. And so I like to kind of live vicariously through the colors she chooses. So yeah, she's a really great channel. I think she's a little bit of a smaller channel too. So if you're looking for another channel to watch, like, please check her out. I really, really think she's doing some really great stuff. So Ash from Smash and Knits is my first inspiration. The next thing is the business Soft Spoken. There's an Instagram page and then an Etsy for Soft Spoken, and she makes some really, really cool ceramic and clay stitch markers and buttons, and they're just so pretty. Actually, I bought some in her recent pre-order, but they're going to take a while to get here, so I just wanted to talk about her now. Her stitch markers are so incredible. She combines so many different kind of hobbies in one, and I think that it is incredible. So she just recently had some stitch markers in her pre-order that were quilt squares. So they look like quilt squares. They're made out of clay, and then they're for knitting or crochet. Like, that is such a cool combination of crafty things, and I just love it. I think that's so cool to combine all of these things together, and I love things that are made out of clay. I think it's so cool. Like, pottery is one of those things that I wish I could do, and I'm going to try it again one day, but the sensory feeling, like the sensory experience of clay on my hands, like, doesn't do good things for me. So when I've tried it in the past, I did not enjoy it just because of the like feeling of clay. But maybe I could do it now, but it's very drying. I already have dry hands. I definitely do have some sensory issues. The feeling of it getting under your nails, like, not for me, but I love it. And so I love being able to find businesses that are making amazing things with clay, and especially like combining quilting and the inspiration of quilting with knitting and clay. Like, that's so cool. She also makes some really cool buttons. They're really cute, these little flower buttons. I was so tempted to get some in her pre-order as well, but I needed 6 of them, and that would have been quite a cost. But yeah, she's doing really amazing stuff. And also is a test knitter for a lot of folks. I just recently saw she test knit for Stone Knits. So yeah, really, really cool, really cool lady, really cool business. If you can snag some stitch markers from her in the future, I highly suggest. I think she does wholesale orders as well, so you might find some at your local yarn store. So yeah, okay. Quickly on to my progress on my 2024 knitting intentions. The first intention I had for this year was to explore new fibers, and I tried BFL this month. I didn't knit with it, but I did spin up some BFL, and so I'm very happy with that for myself. And Polworth. I'm spinning up Polworth, which I've never worked with either, so I'm working on that. I'm not working on knitting anything with new fibers right now, but I am spinning it, and that is a start, and that's fun. So that's been really, really enjoyable. Bringing my stash down was my next goal or intention, and I didn't really add to it other than this yarn that I'd already ordered. Not a lot came out of my stash this month, though, just given that this took me a long time. So it's okay. I mean, it's going well. I'm not bringing a whole bunch in, so I'm happy with the progress I've made on that intention, and will continue to work on it. Knitting from patterns I already own has been really good. I did buy the Eva cardigan pattern, and I ended up getting 2 pattern books this month, but otherwise did not purchase any patterns, and or any pattern I purchased I've knit up, and I have been a lot better at just knitting from the patterns I own or going there first before buying a new pattern. I haven't bought a single sock pattern this year except for that book, but otherwise I haven't bought a single sock pattern this year, and I'm pretty proud of myself for that. My next goal is to deepen my yarn knowledge, and I'm doing really great there. I started spinning, which is awesome. I'm also currently collecting avocado skin and pits to dye yarn with avocado. And I have the yarn that I will dye, so I'm working towards trying dyeing as well, which is awesome. My next 2024 intention was to expand my knitting knowledge, and I didn't really do that much on that point over the last month and a half or whatever it was, month. I worked on this mostly. I've done brioche stitch before. I've done double knitting before. Those are the 2 stitches on this, so that wasn't anything new. Yeah, I mean, this had like a new pattern, but I'd done all the stitches before, so it wasn't fully like a new thing. So yeah, nothing really there, but that's okay. Sometimes one of these intentions isn't going to be worked on, and I'm still doing a lot, so it's good. My next intention was to make more socks, and I'm doing well on that. I have a pair of socks as a whip right now, and I have a pair of socks as a finished object, so feel good about that. I've been sticking to making a pair of socks a month, so doing good. Wearing my knits more often is kind of mixed over this last month. I didn't wear any of my sweaters or kind of garments that frequently. I wore them a few times. I actually wore a tank top yesterday that I've made, but otherwise I didn't wear too many garments, but I did wear my socks a ton. Now that I have more socks, I've been wearing them just more frequently, and that's been really enjoyable, because then I get to see something I made on my feet every day, and they keep my feet really nice and warm, so that's a win-win. And yeah, I think just the weather has been getting a lot warmer here, and I've been going out and walking a lot more, so I don't necessarily want to like wear one of my sweaters to then go outside in and walk around and get really sweaty and have friction. So yeah, I need to make some more warm weather knits, or I just need to understand like I'm not going to wear as many knit garments in this time of year, which both are fine approaches. We'll just see what I kind of end up doing. But the socks are getting a ton of wear, so feel good about that. Another one of my intentions is to knit less, and I did that this month, and it kind of stressed me out. I've been very busy with work. I talked about this. I had a knit and chat, like I think 2 videos ago, I had a whole knit and chat about this. But yeah, I've been really busy with work. I've been enjoying other hobbies. I've been reading a lot more, walking a lot more, and just seeing friends. So my knitting time has decreased for those reasons. And it then was kind of stressing me out that like I hadn't cast on anything for my spring knitting plans, and it was already April. But I did just cast on one of my spring knitting plan knits, and I'm feeling better. So yeah, it's interesting. It's one of my intentions. It is one of my goals. I think that I do want to knit less. It would be better for me overall to have a more well-rounded life, engage in more different hobbies. But still, like, I don't know, then stresses me out when I can't get a sweater done reliably in like a 2.5 week kind of turnaround, which I used to do all the time. So still kind of learning how to navigate that, but I'm getting there. This is going to be a hard intention for me. So yeah. My next intention was to have fewer knitting deadlines, and I had none over this period, except I had one. I mean, my friend's birthday was April 1st, and so I wanted that probably done by then, but it was a 4-day project, so that was really easy. And yeah, otherwise, no deadlines. And then more community last content was my last knitting intention when it came to engaging with the community I'm creating here, and then also just engaging with the broader kind of online knitting community, watching other people's channels on Instagram, things like that. And I could be better. I talked before about how I took kind of a content break over this last week, and so I haven't been on Instagram or YouTube at all. I don't know what any of my favorite knitting podcasters have posted in the last week. Feel a little bit out of the loop there. So I haven't been commenting on people's things or engaging with people because I haven't been online. So at least the less content piece, I'm doing that. But I really am excited to kind of get back into watching some of my favorite people, seeing what they're up to, both on Instagram and on YouTube, and commenting more, because it is really enjoyable. I mean, I know that it like always makes me really happy when I see a comment from someone that I recognize or just someone new. Like, I love when people comment on my videos and say something. So I want to, do that for other folks as well, in our community. So yeah, I want to do that more. It's just been slightly hard lately just because I don't want to be on my phone that often. And when I am kind of watching or listening to something, I'm tending more towards audiobooks than videos right now. But I do want to kind of make that space to watch more folks and maybe treat it more as like seeing a friend. That sounds parasocial, but I think like if I frame it more as like, oh, I'm catching up with my friend rather than like I'm watching this video, it does make the drive to watch it a little bit larger and makes me watch it more intentionally and comment more often. So want to do that more. And yeah, just balancing kind of listening to things, being on my phone less with also watching people I care about, and seeing what they're up to, because I do think that engaging in this online space is the way that I was able to grow as a knitter the quickest, learn new techniques, and just kind of shed a lot of the beginner knitter fears. So want to continue that. But yeah, so those are my knitting intentions and how I'm doing on them. And then finally, I will give a quick recommendation for this month. I talked already about how I'm doing this content cleanse this week, and that's part of The Artist's Way, which is a book. It was released in the 80s. It's by Julia Cameron, I think is her name. But it is kind of this, it's a 12-week workshop. There's also just a book. The essence of it is, the point is to connect with your more creative side. It's a lot about kind of quieting your inner critic a little bit more and getting more in touch with your creativity. So it's meant for kind of, if you're a writer or a painter or into anything like creative, getting more in touch with that, getting out of writer's blocks or creative blocks, and engaging in that. But I think it's also kind of just like a really nice exercise in, I don't know exactly, it kind of like inner child kind of stuff where, it's being more nurturing to yourself, learning how to quiet your kind of own inner critics, because we all have them. Play more. It's a lot about like learning how to play again as an adult. And yeah, it's been really great. I'm on week 4 of kind of the 12-week workshop part of it, or workbook, and I think it's really enjoyable. I think I've gotten a lot out of it already, and I'm excited to see what else I do. The main things that you do, there's readings every week that take like 30 minutes. There's some workbook exercises that are like prompts or go do this one thing, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you do. And then every morning you write 3 pages. They're called the morning pages, and you just first thing in the morning sit down, fill up 3 pages, and you're just kind of sitting there writing. It takes me about 30 minutes. And it's been really enjoyable to do that for the past month. Like, I think that it kind of gets all the gunk out of my brain first thing in the morning, and I can focus a little bit better after having kind of cleared the pipes, I guess, maybe. I don't know if that really makes sense, but that's how I feel. And then you also go weekly on an artist date, which can be anything, but it has to be you alone, and you're doing something that fuels your creativity. They explain it in the book as kind of like, imagine you are a parent and you're divorced and you get your child once a week and you want to have quality time with them. Or you can think of it as like you have date night with your partner, you're both really busy. And so you have this time once a week where you're spending time with them. You don't want to just sit at home. You don't want to just like do something boring. You want to go have fun, fuel, like, especially for the metaphor of a kid, like make sure they have a great time, that you're engaging their brain, and yeah, they're going to have a memorable time, and you're not just pumping them with sugar. Like, it's going to be something fun and good for them, like going to a museum or playing in the park for a long time, things like that. So yeah, those are the main components, and it's enjoyable. If you're looking for something like that, I highly recommend it. It's maybe not everyone's cup of tea. I get that too. But if you are kind of thinking like, oh, it would be nice to be more creative or feel more kind of playful or more, it's given me a lot of like stress release to just getting better, I think, at trusting myself and getting better at just trusting what's around me and playing more, like just having my survival brain less active and letting my creative side drive me a little bit more. So if you're looking for anything like that, highly recommend checking out The Artist Way. I've really enjoyed working on it. But yeah, okay. This ended up being a long episode, which I was 50-50 on if it would be long or short, and I should have known it's almost always long because I like talking. But thank you so much for joining today. I will actually be out of town this week, so the next video you see from me has been pre-filmed. If my hair looks different or anything looks different, it's because it's from a few weeks ago. So you'll see a pattern roundup of coastal grandma aesthetic knitting patterns. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing y'all soon. In real time, that'll be 2 weeks from now, but you'll see me next week. Okay, bye.